Hey, we're here at San Diego Comic-Con 2010. We got Lars and Chad from Bungie. We're going to talk to them a little bit about the show and dive into Forgeworld and kind of things they showed off at the Reach panel today. So first off, guys, what are your thoughts on Comic-Con in general and kind of the madness of all the fans that kind of swarmed this place and are just, I mean, they're all over the place out here.
Comic-Con is really cool. It's like such a different experience from all the other places we go. Like, this is completely different from E3 because it's funny because video games are more of an underdog thing at Comic-Con, but it's cool because you get this grassroots kind of stuff, and like the panel that we had today, the fans that turned out were remarkable, super enthusiastic. It was almost like we could have just switched options on the screen and they would have gone bananas, but yeah.
They were calling for that at one point, right? They're like, come on, toys, it says toys, pick the toys.
No, they totally were, but Comic-Con is super fun. Like, it's insane. I don't think you realize how crazy and busy and packed it is until you're here and trying to wade through it, but it's a lot of fun, and it's cool to connect with the fans.
And you guys have both been working the Xbox booth and giving people a run through a firefight. So what's that like, the crowd? I mean, that place is packed with people all day running through, so what's that experience like?
This is my first San Diego Comic-Con, actually, and I've been warned that it was going to be packed, but I had no idea. No, it's been great. We've had 2 games going on at once all the time, and people are loving it. You know, you have all these things at Comic-Con, but all these people we're just trying to play Firefight.
Today we had the panel. You took people outside the canyon. Can you give us kind of a short glimpse at kind of that moment and your thoughts on revealing that?
It's the one thing I think I've been looking forward to the most, actually, is when people finally got to see all of Forgeworld. It's just, you could hear like everyone at once. Eventually they started cheering, but at first there was just this collective like sucking of breath where everyone went and then they started screaming, and just seeing how thrilled people were was awesome. Like, made my day, made my career. That was easily one of the highlights of the entire project for me.
And you guys showed off a lot of Forgeworld today, but is there more? I mean, you don't need to get into specifics here, but is there more people can expect to see? Obviously, when the game comes out, there's some more hidden tricks and secrets in there for people to get?
There's a lot of things for people to find and play with. I mean, we only showed, like 2 or 3 of the objects. I mean, when people get their hands on the crazy amount of options they have in terms of like, there's like 150 unique pieces, Chad was saying earlier today at the panel. Just ridiculous stuff, like chunks of levels that we've shipped in the past that we've actually broken out into Forge pieces. Like, he showed a little bit of something that is a nod to something people probably will figure out. I don't want to say right now, but yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff in there, and a lot of stuff we just didn't have time to show. It would have taken hours to show half of the stuff in there.
All right, so you guys showed off the Forgeworld. It's just this huge, epic scale map with tons of stuff in it. At what point were you like, okay, this might be too much? And at what point were you like, either screw it, we're going to do it anyway, or we absolutely can do this? Like, what was that realization like?
Well, we were at the this might be too much point about 5 seconds after loading the map in the game the first time. It was a huge undertaking and a risk really to just try to make a map that big. Originally, the plan was that we were going to do 5 separate maps that were they looked like they were all in the same area. And the artist working on it, Steve Cotton, actually was building them all in one space just to make it go faster while he was working. And at one point he's like, we should keep it all in one space. And everyone was like, you're nuts, that'll never work. There's no way that you can do that. And we just couldn't convince him otherwise. And eventually he managed to convince more of us, and we decided to go that way, and we never looked back.
Very cool. For the better. It's amazing. And you also talk about today at the panel and in the video about kind of the community and kind of seeing what they've built and now the things they're going to be able to do, and kind of what you've taken from the community in terms of ways to kind of make Forge a little bit better and the tools now they can use to make these amazing things. Can you talk about that a little bit and just what went into that thought process?
I think really what happened when Halo 3 was released, we weren't quite sure what was going to happen with Forge. We knew people were going to do things with it. We didn't know to the extent what they were going to do with it, and that totally blew us away constantly. And then we took from them and decided to do things like Sandbox, where when Sandbox came out, it was pushing Forge further than we've ever done before, and doing things that we didn't even know we could do when we shipped Halo 3. And so then it was, what did they do with Sandbox? Okay, let's actually make this tool a lot more user-friendly and really give them the tools that they need so they don't have to do all these weird cheats and make things things that are almost impossible to do for the normal person. And then on top of that, give them things they aren't even asking for. They don't know that they want yet, but once they see it, they're going to be like, hell yeah, I want that in Forge. And it was really that whole iteration process of how can we make Forge better? And then the real final piece was these guys needed to be able to use Forge to make these shipping variants and use the tool to make something that was on the disc that millions of people are going to play. And that was really what pushed it over the edge and said, okay, this thing has got to be awesome, and we need all this stuff in there.
And so going back to Blood Gulch a little bit, now called Hemorrhage, when did that come up? Was that later, or was that something you guys always knew you kind of wanted to get back in there?
That was the first thing to go in, actually. Back when we were talking about it being 5 different maps, that was the first one that we actually made sure was in the engine. All the terrain in the map is actually from Halo 2's Coagulation. When we started, it started with the artists ripping that geometry from Halo 2 and putting it into Reach so we could see what changes we needed to make in terms of level of detail and scale. And from there, that's when we started adding the other spaces. So it actually all started with Gulch.
Firefight Versus. Let's get into that just a little bit. So now you get to play as the elites and slaughter yourself some Spartans as they're trying to protect various places around Reach. So where did that idea come from?
So I think Versus mode really came from, it was one of those things where it's kind of an idea that we had when we were working on Firefight and ODST, but we didn't quite know what we wanted to do with it or if it could even work. And ODST was such a short dev cycle, we had no time to even think about it. It was like a note in my notebook from that crazy process. And when we sat down and we sat in a room and started going over what are the things we're going to do to improve Firefight and Reach, the first thing was, hell yeah, let's let people play as elites and fight against human-controlled Spartans and have like grunts and jackals and hunters that they're fighting alongside. And that's basically where the idea came from. And now it is what you see in Reach. It's pretty amazing.
It's pretty cool the difference between the Spartans and elites. I mean, just the way they move, you kind of get in some of the Spartan versus elites game modes people saw in the beta. But once you said, like you said, you have the grunts moving along with you. I mean, it really feels like you're taking over. That you've come here to destroy. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's one of my favorite modes of Firefight simply because I like to be the elite, because you're a total griefer, right? I mean, your job is ruin the fun for the Spartans. You're just trying to kill them. That's all you got to do in the entire game type. Meanwhile, the Spartans, they have to watch how many lives they've got left. They've got you to deal with, plus grunts and skirmishers and hunters and all these other things coming after them. So they're totally stressed out, and you're sitting there in the back like, ping, and then, they fall over. You hear someone on the other side of the room scream obscenities, and yeah, it's awesome. It's tons of fun to play that way.
Very cool. And then another thing we revealed today was the Halo Reach console. Had you guys seen that before? Like, I mean, you obviously seen it before, but like the fan reaction to that was phenomenal. We gave one away to a kid in the audience, one kid. Everybody went nuts. Any thoughts on that? I mean, that's coming out at launch.
We're super excited about that console, not only because it's going to be a really cool way for people to, like Halo fans, to buy the newly designed 360, but then also get 2 sweet controllers and a copy of the game. Like, it's going to be an amazing package for people who, maybe don't have a 360 yet, and they're like, hey, what's this Halo thing? Maybe I'll check it out. And it's a cool looking console. It's a really cool looking console, and the people who maybe want to upgrade because their 360 is getting a little old, or they just like spending money, who knows, like, it's a sweet looking console. So yeah, like, that's good too. I mean, I'm looking forward to playing with my new Reach console. I'm very excited about it.
I probably was the last person to know that we were going to actually do a Reach console, so I heard about it like yesterday, and I got to see it at the same time as everyone else at that panel. So I'm sitting there like kind of peeking over, like, that's really cool. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, yeah, I've totally seen this before. Yeah, keep unpacking, Lars. Keep going.
You said it was overwhelming, but just any closing thoughts to people that come here, check out Reach, all the other things Comic-Con has to offer.
The fans they're insane and they're amazing and we love them, and we couldn't do what we do without them. I came from the fans, so it's really exciting for me to get to talk to them.
They are the reason we're here. They're the reason Chad and I have jobs right now. Yeah. It was awesome to meet them and like talk to them at the booth. This just reminds you why you do what you do, and like Comic-Con is an amazing way to like meet the fans and just see what the real people think, the people that are actually buying the game.